Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for permanent weight loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. I know it can be so scary to actually think about not being on a diet, to not control your eating, to let yourself eat what you want when you want to eat it, when you know that weight gain can happen. But I want to let you know that dieting is painful. Constantly worrying about what you're putting in your mouth is annoying. And consider that if your destiny actually is to heal your relationship with food once and for all, that's the space and place that you can live in could be absolutely beyond just your highest, I don't know, it could just open up doors and possibilities, feelings, experiences, lifestyles that are beyond what you ever thought was possible for your life. Super excited to be coming with you today. My name is Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. If you're a longtime listener, hello. If you're brand new, hello and welcome. And thanks for listening. I am so passionate about helping people see what they can't see around their food eating habits, their behaviors, their patterns in a way deeper way than what they've been able to see so far. And I used to identify as a food addict, what went from being a health conscious person, a registered nurse, a personal trainer, like I knew the health things and I was good with it, eventually escalated into believing I was a food addict and following all of these very strict diet-like rules and fear-based thinking thoughts that led me to a very painful cycle of binging and later just a very much more challenging recovery period to the point of now having what I described before, just a life that continues to expand, get more beautiful every day and more peaceful. And that's at the end of the day, that's all I ever really wanted was to achieve inner peace. And none of it would have happened if I didn't find hypnosis to show me that, hey, what if this is actually a brain and mental and emotional thing more than just a me, something's wrong with me, I'm a food addict, it's a control thing. Yeah. And then also just getting the food freedom mindset and just, realizing that I could live a freedom of happiness, a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace, like we say in this podcast. So just wanting to share that with you today. So I want to specifically talk about, is your destiny actually healing your relationship with food? How do you know? Or is it to stay dieting for the rest of your life? Both happen. People go to their deathbed. I've had many, many people say to me that, they had parents or grandparents who ended up on their deathbed and still on the day of their death talking about how they still couldn't lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, what have you. And both of them had a wake-up call for themselves in seeing their loved one say that of like, well, I don't want that to be what I'm saying on my last day on earth. I also had a coach in the past say that he had never been to a funeral before where you looked in the casket and said that person's name, like so-and-so. They always had the perfect body. They always ate perfectly. Like No, you don't get an award at the end of your life for being perfect and for staying completely in shape your entire life. People remember the way you make them feel. They remember the impact you made for other human beings. They remember the love you shared, the laughter, the service you provided. They do not remember or care about the way that you looked or how your body was. And yet our brains can get so hyper focused on that as if that is what everybody else is paying attention to and cares about. But how boring is that? If someone is judging you based on your weight and saying that they don't want to be your friend or be around you because of your weight, do you really want them as your friend anyway? Or do you want someone who looks past looks and knows your soul and how beautiful it is? I just researched the other day on what does the Bible say about eating. Just curious, and it said that Jesus was quoted to say that it was less important on what you put in your body and more important about what comes out of your heart. And I think that's so beautiful. So beautiful. And there was a time in my life when I was so terrified that what I was putting into my body was causing some kind of inflammation that would lead to disease and ultimately death. I had a fear of dying. I had a fear of being at cause for anything bad that could happen to me. And it's been a journey. It was a journey of really healing past all those fears and anxieties that only got worse at the longer that I dieted. And most everybody that I work with has done every diet under the sun, and I did as well. And some people even have had gastric bypass surgery or something similar, lap band. And most recently, a lot of my clients did attempt the new weight loss drugs, GLP-1, Ozempic, etc. These types, Wegovy, these types of drugs. Obviously, we are very much wanting a solution. We want an answer. And so did I. And I even got to a point where I just thought that I wasn't going to get an answer, that this was just like a plague that I was always going to have to deal with. It was just, the bad hand that I was dealt. And oh, well, I should be grateful because other people get dealt worse hands. But food is it's just so different. So the things that I learned to kind of change my mindset out of thinking that something was wrong with me and I need to control myself and I have no willpower and I can't stay consistent and I can't get motivated to go to the gym and now I miss my workout and now my day is ruined and might as well just eat a piece of pizza. And now I'm mad at myself for that. But since I did that, I might as well have a brownie. And since I did that, I might as well have a glass of milk. And since I did that, I might as well have a glass of wine, right? It was just like I just felt like there was always this, it just opened up Pandora's box. And so I was thought that the only way that I could control myself was to 100% restrict, was to say no. I thought that was the only possible way that I could escape it. And so when I found the food addiction program and they started teaching all the science about the addictive properties of sugar and how dopamine affects the brain, and it just, because I'm a science person, it really made sense to me. And I bought into it 100%. And there was a definite impact, negative impact that had on my life. Were there good things that came out of that? Sure. I really learned how good vegetables felt in my body. I really learned how much I was capable and able of doing hard things. And I learned how to set better boundaries. I learned how to find different things to do outside of eating and drinking. I learned, I think my spirituality deepened during that time. So I'm I'm thankful for those lessons, and I recognize the big impact that it had on my life. There's previous episodes that I've recorded before um, on this specifically. Anything titled Bright Line Eating or Food Addiction Journey will probably have me kind of paint more picture, more details. Um, And I specifically want to just, yeah, talk about this. So I really believe that all of us on this journey, I think that food can be your path to enlightenment if you love it so much. And if weight loss has been something that you've been striving for your whole life and continue to just try thing after thing after thing, it's like it can be your greatest teacher. It can be the thing that, since you're so concerned about it and fixated on controlling it and managing it, there can be so many lessons that come from that. And I also know that until you're ready for the kind of journey that I've created for people, you're not you just may not be ready yet. I know there was times on my path where I was not ready for a conversation like the one that I have on this podcast and have been having for the last 3 years, so however long it's been. And the way that I can describe that is, when I was a personal trainer and working at the gym and just really into fitness, I was really into fitness. So I took myself to therapy in college, and I was expressing, she asked me just about my health habits, and she was like, okay, what about working out? And I was like, oh, I'm like addicted to the gym. I like have to go or else it's like not good. And she's like, okay, well, that can be a problem. And it's just like a sign of that is like anything you're super attached to, it can, it's kind of like versus, oh, I'm just choosing to do this, can be a unhealthy attachment to something. And I knew that if I missed my workouts, then I wasn't at peace about it. So it's just kind of a sign of, how it might be for you. If I was on top of it though, if I was eating consistently and working out consistently, like my moods were consistent. But it was also trapping and does trap us in a space of perfection, because there's going to be times in your life when you can't stay consistent for one reason or the other. You're going through a hard time, you're going through value changes, you're going through major life shifts. So what if we actually learned how to be good with not being good all the time, to love and accept yourself and to be able to trust your body that it actually does have you. It is going to keep you safe. And yeah, the only thing that has us get to major weight gain or rapid weight gain is unhealthy mental, unhealthy emotional. So if we attack the mental and the emotional first, then even if you're going through a hard time and you are eating a bit more, you're not going to eat half as much as you would have eaten prior. And anyway, there's so much more that goes into that. But so at the time, I was like, oh, well, that's not a problem when I went to the therapy in college. But then I ended up, by my senior year, I'd put on a bunch of weight after I studied abroad in Mexico and was very unhappy and feeling not good physically. I had gastric reflux. I had just, bowel movements were off, and uh, just overall felt sluggish and bad in my genes, to be honest. I just remember seeing myself in the mirror and just feeling absolutely disgusted. And I, at that point, was at the end of my rope. I knew that I couldn't do another diet ever again, but I also knew that I was miserable. And the only way that I knew how to not be miserable was if I lost weight. But I had no energy, no motivation to do it. So I was really stuck between a rock and a hard place. And that kind of forced me to look at it in a different way of being like, and I remembered that therapist saying to me a couple years prior of like, it being a problem, it could be. And I was like, this is a problem for me. So, but I wasn't there. I didn't have that awareness for myself until years down the road. So I just really believe that, like, if it feels like it's a problem for you, then it is. If it doesn't feel like a problem for you right now, then it isn't. And if at any point in time, it does feel like it's gotten to that, then that's a time that you would reach out for help, because it would be aligned. Um, so yeah, so that kind of really started it. And so the thing is, so I found hypnosis not long after that. And that again reaffirmed of like, wow, this can be a lot easier, because the food thoughts were way less and the diet thoughts were way less. And I no longer felt like I was going to binge like all day long without a diet, which was just so relieving. And there was still more work to be done on my healing journey. But here's like the part that I really want to hone in on for this podcast, just as you're considering, like, is healing your relationship with food something that's in the cards for you for your future, or is forever dieting? Um, when I was in the food addiction program, there were bouts of times that I really just wanted to learn how to intuitively eat. I wanted to feel like a normal person. I didn't want to feel like I had to isolate myself and do things way differently. And, um, there was things like you had to weigh and measure your food for every single meal. You had to write down on your notebook, like what you're going to do the next day. Like, all things that look like really good habits. But again, the energy of which this was given to us was because if you don't, it's you, like, you cannot be trusted with food because your brain is broken. They actually fed us messages that my brain is broken. They had us look at other people's bodies and say that we're big and say, thank God that's not my body. Um, and just like a lot of other mantras that come from, food addiction programs. I'm highly trained about the mind and behavior in general, human behavior, neurolinguistic programming, and coaching. So I know why that worked, because we have brains that can be trained. So those messages worked, and they did help me lose weight, and they did help me stay consistent. They also drilled into me very disempowering beliefs, very judgmental beliefs about other people, and things that made my ability to choose freely way less. It gave me less choice in life instead of more. So, um, something about people who struggle with food, body, and weight, where it's like, whereas an alcoholic or a drug addict need to have specific coaching like that because they actually could die if they use it, with food people, we actually need empowerment. We need trust in ourselves, our bodies, our food decisions. We need confidence. And so I think it got lost in the mix because obviously Alcoholics Anonymous is like very effective and very powerful. I respect it. But food is not alcohol and drugs. Like, we need food to live. And I've worked with hundreds of clients. I've had thousands of conversations with people with this. I've not met people who are the same kind of personalities as alcoholics and maybe drug addicts, where they need to be knocked down 10 notches because they're so aloof or arrogant or narcissistic. They're kind people. They're loving. They've been through a lot. They're good human beings. They have a lot of emotions that are bottled up or have yet to be processed. And so it's more of like this therapeutic approach, um, and an empowerment approach to have them realize, like, hey, what if there actually is nothing wrong with you? You're not an addict, like, and to reprogram in a way that is empowering, that's going to set you on, um, a path of, never ending health and well-being, and just having things continue to unfold for you in perfect, beautiful ways. So I wanted to learn how to intuitively eat, and because I got tired of it, right? So like sometimes it's like you're on it and you're organized and it feels really good, but sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you want to indulge at a party or a picnic, and sometimes you want to whatever. And they had this scale that measured, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how addicted to food were you? And I was rated like a 10 plus plus. So I feel that I can, based on what this program was, which in some regards I have respect for, but I would never advise someone to go and do it without caution. Um, I never would. So, what was I gonna say? Um, I wanted to learn how to intuitively eat, and yeah. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, but every time that I started to try to intuitively eat, because I wanted to be a normal eater, I wanted to freely eat, I wanted to not have all this panic around this. I didn't want to be so neurotic about my food and my weight and my eating. And so intuitive eating seemed like the way to do it. But every time that I tried to get over into intuitive eating, I'd get some kind of negative feedback. My pants would be too tight. I'd see like bloating in my face after I ate something, or my bowel movements would be off because I got very fixated on that after a while. Um, and that would scare me right back into the diet. Right. So it'd be like, while the food addiction program, it worked for a while and I was like totally into it. It's like then all of a sudden I started having doubts. I started having other thoughts of like, I want to do something different. I want this not to be my reality. I also saw other people who were 10 plus pluses on the food addiction susceptibility scale who had transcended that and got into a healthy, happy relationship with food. Um, and so my belief system about me being, my brain being broken and addicted started to dissipate. And it became harder and harder for me to stay consistent with the way I was eating because I was changing. And you get what you believe. You always get what your mind is set on and what you want. And yeah. But at the same time, every time that I tried to do something different, I failed. I panicked, I failed, and I went right back to the safety spot. And I just finished giving a neurolinguistic programming training. And this is a actually studied phenomenon that when your values shift, right, your mindset shifts, your desires shift, there is what's called the change curve, but where you're basically everything's good, but then you start changing and then you start having these fears and doubts and thoughts of like, I want to do it, I can't do it, I shouldn't do it. Because it's like your two belief systems are starting to argue with each other. And so you might try to just jump to the thing of where you want to go, like I did trying to jump to intuitive eating. But the truth is that, in order to actually change our values, we do need to go through a transformation, which requires hand holding, it requires emotional mastery, it requires mindset work, it requires a new complete mentality on what it is that you're doing. It's not easy because being a health conscious person is a language we all know how to speak fluently, but being someone who's free around food, body, and weight is a completely different language. So it's like you have to give yourself time and space to like feel bumpy, feel embarrassed, feel like I'm not getting this and upset and angry. Like this is all part of the transformational process, but in a container of time where you can actually get a new mindset and graduate to that higher level values level. Um, and then again, get onto a smooth course again. And there's many of these times in life that we can expect to have, downs and ups. But if we can start to have awareness on what's causing them in the first place, that can make it much less painful. And then you can just kind of really show up to um, be extraordinary as you're playing the game of life, right? So anytime that I know that I'm having a value shift go on, I look for a coach or a program that's in alignment with where I want to go. And I get support for myself so that I'm successful in actually getting to the next point. And I'm not just continuously jumping back to that safe place of dieting. And trust me, when I actually did master intuitive eating, I wanted to jump ship back to dieting a lot. And my coaches were the reason why I did not. And I'm so thankful that I did not, right? My investment in myself was the reason I did not, because I was like, all right, well, I just spent this money, hired these coaches. Like, I got to like playful out here, And, but it's because I was so committed to getting the result. Um, So I just want to let you know that it is possible for you to heal your relationship with food if that feels like something you really want. If it's like, don't really care, like I like my diet, I like my control, like then that's good. Then don't do it, right? Stay with it. It's working. Um, but if you are in that space where you're going back and forth between like, I want this, I really want to lose weight, but I really want to heal this. And I want, to feel at peace around this. Like, I really want this. And you feel like there's like parts of you that are battling all the time about it. And even when you try to do it, you end up going back and back. It's like, how much time are you wasting by going back and back? Right? Like, at what point is it going to be like, that's enough? Like, I don't want to waste my life and all of my mental capacities trying to battle this out in myself all the time. Like, let me smart up and, take the action that I need to take to get support for myself so that I can actually get successfully where I want to go. Um, so a lot of the people that I talk to, it's like, they have the awareness and sometimes they're just not even aware of like the value or the role of a coach in getting you there. Um, and understanding, how to support you and what to expect as you're going through that kind of change. Um, yeah, for whatever reason, I have been given breadcrumbs in my life to always be in this kind of transformation work. It was when I was 8 years old. I think I had a headache, and my aunt was like, "Do you want to, get rid of your headache without Tylenol?" And I was like, "Sure." She had me close my eyes and go into the headache, and she asked me like, "What color is the headache? What texture is it?" And you can even do that right now. Like, just do a quick body scan, take a nice deep breath. Whew, and you don't have to have a headache right now, but if you have any anxiety, any clenching, any gripping, you can actually just imagine traveling down into that area of your body right now. And imagine looking around, you have a flashlight, examining the area. What color is it there? Good. And what textures are in there? What is it like in there overall? Good. And then imagine what it's like to move through that space. So, what does it feel like to move through that space in your body? Does it feel sticky? Does it feel hard? Does it feel cold? Does it feel spiny, spiky, sharp? Just allowing it to be that way. It's safe to be that way. And then just even come back and take a nice deep breath in, right? Like, just it takes 90 seconds, research shows, to have an emotion move through the body. 90 seconds. Probably wasn't 90 seconds, but I practiced that many times with many people, and it just helps to alleviate what's going on, so much more that I can teach on this. So just came through the NLP training, but it's just like, if you understand your mind, if you understand your emotions, if you understand how growth works, if you understand how to best motivate yourself, you understand how to best learn, you understand how consciousness works and why your diets haven't worked your whole life, right? And like, if you are battling like, damned if I do, damned if I don't kind of situation about dieting and not dieting, like how it's a normal thing and it's actually a good sign, but like, hey, before, so you can be successful, like equip yourself with a coach and a program so that you can get over that hump, like, and change your life forever. It's just, life gets cool, it doesn't become so challenging. I mean, it is challenging, but it's not as, yeah, you just don't go as overboard with the concern, and you just kind of can celebrate regularly. There was a Bible text this past weekend. It was like, rejoice always, which, if you think about that, like always rejoicing, like, wow, imagine always rejoicing. And the second part was like, pray continuously. It's like having that conversation, even if it's not God, but like universe or whatever your belief system is. And then the final one was like, be thankful always, give thanks, give gratitude always. And, what would it be like if we can actually be in that space to master that feeling, to rejoice always, to pray continuously? And it's just like, these are the things, that just can make life much better. In my experience, my getting out of food prison, constantly worrying about this, like, I couldn't experience this kind of heaven on earth feeling that I experience without, taking action and saying enough is enough, And I really do want to learn how to master this. I want to get out of this. I don't want to live a life where I'm on my deathbed and concerned about my weight. I want to feel meaning and purpose and passion and hope and love and faith and trust and all these good things on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, so I hope that clarifies today on just, yeah. So I guess you can just ask yourself, like, what do you want? First of all, do you want food freedom for the rest of your life? And just with no judgment, just, am I ready right now for it? No judgment, and like trusting yourself of like, you might be like, a little scared, but like, I always say to people before they start, like, you should be a little bit nervous and a little bit excited at the same time. So kind of being able to filter for yourself of like, okay, I'm scared, but it's because I really want this. And I'm scared to say yes because of what that's going to mean. Versus, yeah, knowing that you're just a no right now. And then, yeah. And then just, yeah, like, what's it going to take the plunge if you are a yes? If you are a yes to wanting this, like, what are you waiting for? Yeah, what are you waiting for? So sending you lots of love and see you for the next one. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.